Everybody, this is Ori from AstroWeb, and I'm going to introduce to you the Magento 2 Commerce Page Builder extension. So traditionally, with Magento and Magento 2 and Magento 1 and open source, in order to create the content of your pages, you'd either have to use the WYSIWYG, which is just a basic editor that you'd be able to type in some information, upload a picture, maybe bold it, align it very, very simply, and then you'd create it. Or you would ask a developer to create the layout that you wanted. But with Page Builder, you can do a lot of those things by yourself without any development or any coding knowledge. It's a really, really good tool. It has some cool features, especially the personalization part that I really like. What I wanted to do in this video is introduce you the basic concepts, show you a few things, and explain kind of how it works, how you set it up, where you can use it, and then what are the actual elements. So let's kind of dive in. So Page Builder. So first of all, it's only for Magento 2 Commerce. So what you'd have to do is if you have Commerce, you'd go to Stores, you'd go to Configuration, and then you would scroll down in the General tab to the Content Management link. So General, go here, Content Management, and you'd scroll down and make sure the Advanced Content Tools Enable Page Builder is on yes. Okay, and then you'd have some settings which we can kind of review later, but basically some really, really basic, simple settings. Okay. Where can you use this Page Builder? So any place that you can actually edit some data, you can use it, right? At least in the basics. So when you have a product, you can actually edit any field that the product attribute is set to Page Builder. You can edit inside the category description, you can use the Page Builder. So let me show you some examples. So if I go to category and I click on a category, for example, you can go here to the content and you can see instead of a WYSIWYG you have a description field, which is similar to an attribute, with a Page Builder. If I click on it, I'll have a full screen, which I can remove it from full screen, and I'll have all of my Page Builder information. I'll have my layout, elements, media, and content. And I'll explain in a second what that means. If I go to a product, I can edit a product, and if that product's attribute is a Page Builder, then I can actually use the Page Builder. So let me go here to a product, for example. Let me scroll down. I'm going to go to content, and you can see, for example, the description attribute is a Page Builder attribute. I click here, I can do everything. Okay, cool. So the last one that you can use is content, which is the one I'm going to show you in this video. But basically, any attribute you edit with the Page Builder is really the same thing. So if I go to content, CMS pages, or just pages, I created a very empty page right now, which I'll show you. So I'm going to go here to that CMS page. I'm going to edit it. Now that I edit it, right, so I created this page, it really doesn't have anything, right? So it's empty content section. I go here, I go to content, and I have my content here with Page Builder. So let me explain how it works. First of all, you'd have to configure the layout. So what are the basic parameters? What are the basic walls, for example, that you use? So I have rows, columns, and tabs. By default, you have one row. That row, you're going to have to define the actual layout. So a row doesn't have anything inside of it, right? So if I want another row, I'm just going to drag and drop it. When you saw that I drag and dropped, I'll have a bar, a horizontal bar right here, and if I hover it in a different way, it'll add the row above or below. For each layout, element, media, and etc., if you hover over that specific one, you're going to have a simple menu bar. The first one is to drag it up or down, or left or right. The second one is the settings of that element. Everyone has shared settings, which are usually styling and positioning, and then specific settings that are relevant to that element right here, which we'll give a few examples. The other one is hide or show. So instead of deleting it, if I do want to keep it temporarily, I can hide or show it. The next one is a duplication, and the last one is deletion. So I'm going to delete two of them. Now I only have one row again. Okay, so this row will span the entire width of the theme of your template, right? So each template might have different parameters, different colors, different starting points. But for the most part, you know, this is your starting point. So you really have to be familiar with how your theme works. If I want to separate this and I don't want a full width, I don't want all the way to the left and right of the page. For example, I don't want all this to just be one. What I can do is I can drag in a column, and by default now the row is separated into 2 columns. If I want to drag and drop it, I can move it. These are a 12 bar by default setting, which you can change in the backend, which we saw before in the store configuration. And I can change it. For example, I want, let's say, a left bar that has 3 out of 12, and the rest would have 9 out of 12. You see, if I hover, it can show you, even you don't have to count. So let's say I want to move it back to 6 out of 12. Cool. Now let's say I want to add another row right below, and I want to add some tabs. So this is really popular for product pages to show tabs. I can go here, type in tabs, type in the first one, let's say general tab, and then I want to duplicate this, and I want to have, let's say, a returns policy tab, and I don't have to duplicate it. I also can click and I can add a tab right here. And also one is I don't know, questions or FAQs, let's say. Okay, cool. So now I have my tabs, but I don't really have anything inside my rows and columns and nothing in the tabs. So what I would like to do is go to the next one, which is the elements. What kind of basic elements do I have? I want to start with the header. I'm going to drag it and call it welcome. You know what? Let's put the header, let's delete this. Put the header here under general, put a header, and I made a mistake right here, so I'm just going to drag it right below. And the heading would be general information, and then I would drag a text right below that and say this is a test. I would add, you know, all of my information here, etc., etc., etc. I'd go to the other tab, put a heading in, and say return policy, and then put the text, and just add something, right? So my content goes here. Now, just like the WYSIWYG, for each content text, you can also have bolding and underlines and indentations and etc. Upload an image, all that. Excuse me. So let's go to FAQs. Let's give a few other examples. I can put a button, right? This button will just be a button that I can make it clickable, right? So, you know, read more, for example, and I go to the settings tab, and I want to put a URL on that. Okay, yahoo.com. And I can change the button from primary to secondary. So each layout will just have different styles of call to action buttons. Maybe a really obvious one and maybe a secondary one. So primary, for example, in this theme would be like this. And let's duplicate it and go here and edit. Okay, and sorry. Sometimes duplication you can't change, so let me go here, delete this, add another button with the secondary. The button text would be learn more, for example, and I'd use a secondary, and I'd put a link in it, and this is going to be google.com. You can see they're different colors. So based on your theme, based on your layout, you're going to have different styles of buttons, right? I'm going to go here, and these are both clickable. Okay, so let's go add a few more things. So divider, let's say I want to put a divider between the buttons. This is just a horizontal line. And let's say I want to put another divider here, and I want to put some HTML code. So sometimes you actually need to put some code in. Okay, it's just getting a sip. Okay, so now I can put my HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, but I'm just going to put a simple HTML code. It's link. Okay, you can put anything you want here. Yahoo.com. Okay, don't ask me why I do Yahoo, just a weird habit. So next one. So now I have all of my elements here. I'm going to go to the next part. Let me save it. You can see the page currently. Okay, so now I have my tabs, right? And I have my buttons, which are clickable, and I have my HTML right here. So let's say I want to edit a few more things. Content, and I want to put some pictures here. So I'm going to go here to Elements, Media. And now I have images I have banners, I have slider banners, and I can put a Google map. So let's go and put an image here and put an image here, and I can upload it from my computer, or I can select from what I've uploaded to the server before. So let's say I want to put this picture, and here I want to put, I want to put this other picture, say this one. Okay, so now I put a few things. Okay, so let me save it. And now you can see I have another picture. So the reason why it's not aligned correctly is because this image has a lot of white space. It looks kind of weird. So what you could do is you can actually go and change some of the settings of these things, right? So content, I can hover over my image, let's say this one, click on the settings, and each settings of each element on the left right here will have both alignments, usually alignment, styling, things like that, padding, and they'll have kind of the settings that are relevant to that element. So for example, if I want to align it, let's see here, I want to put it on the left and give it some padding. Maybe I want to pad it a little bit on the left. I want to put 70 pixels right here, and I want to save it. Okay, so obviously you'd have to have some kind of logic. You see there's some kind of logical images that are related to each other, right? This is a really poor selection right here, right? You can see. But you see I changed the padding, for example, right here. Okay, so let's do a few other examples. I'm going to go to my media, and I want to put a video. So let's say I'm going to put this the way it was. I'm going to put it back. I'm going to put a for each element, one more thing I want to explain. You can upload an image and a mobile image, and then you can also put things that are related to SEO, for example. Maybe some text below the image, the alt tags for SEO, alt text, and the title tag, and some kind of alignment. So let's go here. I'm going to remove my margins. I have no padding and no margins. I'm going to go here and save it. And here I'm going to remove this, and I want to put a video instead. So here you can upload a YouTube video or a Vimeo video. I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to grab a URL of a video. Let's say this one. Just going to copy that, and I'm going to click on the settings, put the video in, make my alignments, my changes, my CSS styles, for example, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so you can see right here, now I have a video embedded. Perfect. Okay, so let's see what else we can do here. Some nice things. Okay, so in addition to media, I have a banner, which is very similar to image, and I have a slider, which is really nice. So let's add a new row right here, and I want to add a slider. I'm going to click here. So slider 1, let me upload the image. I'm going to go here, upload the image. I'm going to select from existing one. Let's say I want this image, so some credit card information. I want to save it. I'll make all my adjustments, some alignments, etc. And I'm going to do it. Now if I want another one, I'll click here, add another slider, put a different image. Sorry, one second. Go here. And let's say I want to select, for example, this one. Okay. Perfect. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to save this. Now you notice that it very, very easily created a slider. We don't need another extension to create sliders. to view this. So it's a really, really nice thing. Okay, here's my first slider, here's my second one, etc. Really simple to create. Okay, let's see what else we can do here. Okay, perfect. Other things you can do here is a map. So if you've plugged in the Google Maps API in the store configuration, you'll be able to embed a map. So if I go here and let's say I want to add another row, and I go here and drag my map. So if you do that, you click on the settings, you'll be able to search, specify location, and search for the map. You'll be able to drag the marker and then input a map. So right now I don't have a Maps API key, but it's really simple. You'd be able to put it in the store configuration, plug it in, and then you'll be able to search for the location name and the information and select it on your map, save it, and then it would be embedded. Okay, last part is the add content. This is my favorite one. So aside from you being able to put text and headers and images and sliders, which is really, really useful, especially for homepage, product pages, and some maybe promotional pages or others, and categories, of course, are blocks, right? So if let me go here, delete that. If I already have a static block or a block in the content right here, I can reuse that, right? I don't have to create a certain content for multiple pages that is shared. So usually a block is some kind of information, a banner, text, products, etc., that is actually shared and used in more than one place. And because it's shared and used in more than one place, and this is usually, you'd want to create it in the blocks, and then you would embed it on the page you wanted, right? So you can save having to upload that same exact thing many, many times, right? So once you do that, you can literally go embed a block right here, click on the settings, select that block, right? For example, I want a certain block, maybe whatever, a picture or something like that, a promotion. You put it, you select it, and you save. That's another one. Another cool one is about, let's delete this, is about products. And I'm going to get to dynamic block in a second, and this is definitely my favorite functionality, so products. So what I can do here is plug in products, click on the settings, and I can display, it's kind of like a product, like widgets if you're familiar. I can display a set of products. So for example, I want to display 4 products that match a certain condition. So for example, I want to display 4 products from a certain category. So for example, the category is, and I'm going to select this one, okay? So right here, and okay. And then I can have some alignments and styles, etc., right? If I click on save, now I have some products. I go here, now I have a whole product widget that would load. Every time the page loads, it would grab 4 products from that specific category, right? I can do attributes, categories, pricing, things like that. It's a really nice feature, right? A lot of projects have on the homepage, very cool, a lot of websites have on their homepage, the product widgets, you can show information, it's really good. So one more thing, and this is really the last thing of the elements, and this is my favorite by far. Go to content and go to add content. Okay, so dynamic blocks. So a block itself is something you want to reuse and use. You want to create in the blocks, in the content blocks, and you want to actually embed it and show to all of your customers that block, if it's a banner or text or products, etc. Dynamic blocks will help you make personalization for your website. So for example, if you make a block and you make a block for a certain customer segment, right? Some of your visitors, you want them to see, you know, image A, and other customer segments, other visitors, you want to see section B. You can use this functionality really easily to personalize the experience. Okay, so customer segments and personalization is another video, but I'll just explain to you the basic concepts. Okay, so what I did, for example, is I went to my customers and I create some segments. And for example, I made a segment for women, so women only. So any visitor that is has registered, that has signed up and filled out the gender dropdown and said that they're a woman would be categorized in this customer segment, and I made another one called men. So now I have two segments. So now what I would do is I would go here to content and go to dynamic blocks, and I would create a block, a certain image just for men and a certain image just for women. And you can do that with anything. Certain image for customers that have bought multiple times, customers that are first time. You'd have to think about your customer, your personalization, and how your business wants to interact with them. What I do, for example, for the male block, I would go create the block and put some information, right? So each block that's a dynamic block, right? So dynamic blocks, each block is relevant to, is connected to a customer segment. So that's how the personalization works. So what I would do, now I would go, so I have a simple, for example, this block shows products only for men, will only show to the customer segment of men, and I have another block just for women, which would show a different information, for example, a different image only to women. And then I would go and edit my page again. And I'd go here to Page Builder, my CMS page, which is this one we created. And I would go to my row and I would input that dynamic block inside. So content, and let's go to my block, and let's say I want to remove this, and I want to put a dynamic block right here, and I want to select it. Okay, 1 second. Here's my dynamic block. Okay, so here it is, before it didn't load. Dynamic block, and I'm going to select, for example, the male one. I'm going to select it, and it shows me a quick summary, which customer groups does it fit, and I would do all of my alignments, etc. I save it. So now I have the men only block, and I'm also going to import right below that, or above it, doesn't really matter. I'm going to import the women block. So I'm going to click here, I'm going to do the female block. Okay, and I'm going to save it. So now I have, if a customer is logged in this specific example and their gender is a male, they're going to see this block. If they're logged in and they're female, they're going to see this block. This is really, really good for personalization. So if I save it and then I were to log in, I would see, one or the other, right? So let's see if we can show you this example. Let me refresh the page. Okay, so now I don't see anything. Why? Because I'm not logged in, right? So if I do log in, let me see if I remember the password. Okay, so if I do log in, my customer right here, let me go to customers. And I'm going to go to Ori. And I'm going to check which gender it is right now. So Ori, right here, gender male. So because it's male, if I scroll down, I can't see anything. Okay, so let's see why that is. So dynamic block. Here's the male block. Okay, so it's on, that's correct. This is also correct. I want to remove this. Okay, and you see it's here. Here it's male, I see it. So I don't see the other image for female. If I go to this customer and I go to gender and I save, if I refresh the page, I should not see this block, and I should only see the image for the women. And here it is. Okay, so this is really one of the favorite things. So when you create customized user experiences for your home page, for your product pages, for your other elements, content pages, the dynamic blocks is one of the best tools that Magento has under the customer segments that Magento has under Magento Commerce, but really the page builder helps you implement that in very easy ways. So just to recap a few things, number one is if you want to use this for product attributes, when you create the attribute themselves, you go to store, you go to product attributes, you need to make sure that your attribute, let's add a new one, has, instead of text field or radio button, you have to select the page builder if you want that field to be used as a page builder. Okay? For categories, for example, you don't need to. It's by default. The description will be page builder. Okay? For CMS pages, the whole thing uses page builder. Other thing, again, just to recap, store configuration. If you want to enable it, you have to go to General, Content Management, and enable to yes. And then if you want a Google Maps, you have to input the Google Maps API key. You have to register with Google Maps, put the API key, save it, etc. Really hope this video made sense for everybody. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer. Let me know what you thought about it, what other videos you want us to create. Really appreciate your time, and hope you liked it.